Hey everybody, Kyle Goth here from GoatFilmReviews.com and the Goat Film Reviews YouTube channel, and I do have my first reaction to the new film, A Real Pain, directed by Jesse Eisenberg. I believe this is his second feature film. I didn't see the first one, so this is the first time I'm seeing him as a director. He stars in the film with Kieran Culkin from things like Succession or Scott Pilgrim vs. the World. They play cousins who are backpacking through Poland, basically in honor of their recently passed grandmother. They're going to find out where she lived and kind of see the home that she was in. So they pick up with a tour group that is going through the area. Kind of a Holocaust memorial in some ways, a Jewish kind of like history tour, if you will. I think this movie does a really great job of kind of being melancholic and yet still funny, still being kind of heartwarming, but without giving you the easy kind of answers that you seek. It's a little bit more thinky than I expected it to be. The trailer kind of sells it as being I would say a little bit more of kind of like, isn't this quirky kind of a situation, but it's a little bit more than that. I think Jesse Eisenberg is really, like, he's good in this movie, but the standout is Kieran Culkin. You can tell it's almost like Eisenberg wrote this role for Kieran to do, and kind of gave him the best stuff in the film, because Jesse Eisenberg is really playing the straight man with David. It's Benji, played by Kieran, who is kind of the more wild card. He's the one who is clearly struggling with something in that relationship with his recently passed grandmother. Like, he's dealing with something in there. And I think that's pretty powerful stuff. And what I like about the film is how it introduces and leaves Benji in kind of uncertain ground where you just don't really know if he's progressed or not, and how the film kind of introduces him, makes us like him, makes us frustrated with him, makes us like him again. Like, he's a very mixed character, and it's a character piece, if you will, because everyone else in the film, I think there's some good performance. Jennifer Grey appears in the film as Marcia. She's on the tour group. I think Will Sharp, who plays James, is pretty fun. He's the tour group kind of leader, the tour guide, if you will. And I would go on a tour with James. He's a little bit rigid on like explaining things and kind of talking things through and kind of over-explaining the situation that they're in, which kind of brings him to a little bit of frustration with Benji throughout the film as well. But that's kind of my way of like going on vacation, so I guess I get it. Well, the other thing I wanted to talk about with this movie is how it's very respectful. I appreciated the fact that this is a movie where they go to a concentration camp, but it's also a comedy, but it's not a comedy when it gets to the concentration camp. Eisenberg smartly kind of pulls the comedic stuff out of that sequence, tonally speaking. Like, you know, because right before they get there, there's like a comedic scene. Right after they're gone, there's another comedic scene in there. But when they are in the concentration camp, it is very much a somber tone. And that's a hard thing to do, is to literally veer completely out of one of the tones that you've been staying with, one of the, you know, the subgenres that you've been going with comedy-wise. You've been going with comedy this entire film. It's a melancholic comedy, but it's still there. So it was a smart decision to literally like pull the music out, pull the kind of dialogue down to a minimum, and just focus on what they're seeing here. And I think that's really smart. And even though the rest of the film can kind of get into some funny things, there's a certain level of respect that is given to that portion. I just recently got back from Germany, and I saw a concentration camp there, and it was one of those things where, you know, it was kind of dead set in the middle of our vacation, and we had a lot of fun the day before and a lot of fun the day after. I couldn't say that I had fun doing the concentration camp thing, because it was just, everything I read was just so horrible and emotionally tolling, and yet it's required viewing almost. You have to really kind of breathe that in and see what took place there for it to move you. And I think they really captured that feeling of backpacking. Although I will say they never once missed a train because of poor planning or confusing language barriers or anything like that. Those are kind of a couple of things. Like, coming back from my trip, I missed trains because of bad language barriers, or I had language barriers with other people. They never had that the entire film. So I will say, maybe it's because they had a tour guide, but that did kind of rub me the wrong way. But yes, this movie proves that there are two distinct types of vacationers, two distinct types of people who go away on out of the country trips. One of them is Benji, one of them is David, and I am both of them. So yeah, but I quite enjoyed A Real Pain. It's a solid character study. It's funny when it needs to be. It's serious when it needs to be. It's got a nice handling of tone, a nice handling of direction on Eisenberg's way of things, because it's not overly done. It's a very much an actor's movie. And that happens a lot when you get a actor turned director, is you get an actor's movie, one that's very based in performances and writing, and that's what this movie is. So overall, positive on A Real Pain. I think it's while not being necessary viewing, I think it's one of those kinds of road trip films that is unique in a way because of how it juggles that tone and how it does get serious when it needs to be without being kind of bombastically funny. Yeah, melancholic is what I keep going back to with this film, and kind of that concern over being forgotten, having their grandmother be forgotten, who they are being forgotten, the impact that they have on the world being potentially forgotten. And I think that's some heady stuff that not many road movies get into. So I enjoyed the film quite a bit. Now I want to hear what you thought about A Real Pain. Let me know down in the comments section below your thoughts on the film. Please let me know if there was positives, negatives, anything in between. If you loathed the movie and I liked it, that's totally cool. I just want to hear your perspective on things. We'll chat about it. So go ahead and do that. Make sure to like and subscribe. There are 2 free things you can do that help to support the channel immensely, and you'll never miss new episodes of the show as they drop. You can also check out goatfilmreviews.com for my many written reviews. You can find Goat Film Reviews on Facebook. You can follow me at Almighty Goatman on Twitter, Instagram, Letterboxd, and Threads. You can find my show Kyle and Nick on Film that I co-host with Nick Palachuk from the St. Paul Filmcast. We have new episodes of that show every single week. You can also find a link in the video description for this video for the Minnesota Film Critics Alliance, of which I am a member. You can check out other film critics' reviews of A Real Pain or more of my stuff over there as well. Thank you so much for joining me, and we'll see you next time. Bye-bye.